Right, welcome to Wex's first virtual photo walk. My name's Christian Cross and today we're going to be walking through Peckham and I'm going to be showing you what it's like in the area that I got brought up in. I first got into photography 6 years ago when I decided to buy myself my first camera, which I didn't know how to use. And I bought a load of books and started teaching myself to where I did not know a thing about street photography when I started. I was shooting flowers, landscape shots, and literally anything I could shoot with a camera. And one day I went on a photo walk and it ended up being a street photography photo walk. When I went along to it, I didn't even know what street photography was. So for me, going along and being able to walk around and see what street photography was and just to be taking pictures of people and surroundings and after that I just got hooked, and ever since I've been doing street photography, documentary photography, protests and everything along those lines. My first camera I got was a Nikon D3200, which is an entry-level camera, and it came with a kit lens, and I used that for a good few months until I came across the Ricoh GR. And one of my mates bought one of these cameras and I used it one day and absolutely fell in love with it. So since then I've been using the Ricoh GR, so I started with the Ricoh GR, went onto the GR2, and now I'm using the GR3, which is their latest camera. Absolutely amazing for what I do when I got into street photography, because in street photography I like to not be noticed and I like to take shots without people realising that I'm even taking their shot. So I get candid moments. Literally it would be in my pocket because it literally comes with me everywhere I go. Even if I ain't going out to take pictures for the day, I'll pull it in the back pocket and you never know what's going to happen or what moment's around the corner. So although I did used to use this as my secondary camera, because the other cameras I used was pretty big, so they couldn't go everywhere with me. So I found I was losing and missing out on a lot of moments and a lot of subjects and things that was happening. So after a while, I decided to get rid of my bigger cameras and solely go with the Ricoh GR, which has been absolutely perfect for me. And another thing, recently I ruptured my bicep, and I wouldn't have been able to use the camera at all if it weren't for a small camera like the Ricoh GR. So being able to use this still and still go out and be able to do my passion. The photography I do with this camera, it is a lot different from what I do with bigger cameras, just for the fact that you can get away with a lot more without being noticed. Also the focal length, you've got a fixed focal length which works out to a 28mm, and you have to get pretty close to your subjects as well. I also shoot these at protests, and you don't see many of these at protests because it's not easy to be able to be in the moment and capture a moment, especially at some of the Black Lives Matter protests and protests like that, where you have to get right in the middle and in the thick of things. So, and recently just shooting at the England games at Wembley. And I find with the Ricoh GR, you're able to get into a lot of moments, because a lot of photojournalists as well get a lot of stick and trouble from a lot of the protesters when they come with their big cameras, because they get classed as photojournalists and working for BBC, and a lot of the protests don't seem to like it. So me being able to get in with a small camera, it's not intrusive and you can literally get anywhere and no one bothers you at all with it. I've got a really good group of mates who I've met through photography. A lot of them photojournalists and street photographers, and I've literally got in contact with most of them through Instagram. So I find Instagram's been a really good platform for me to sort of show my work and meet other people. And I'm also part of a group to where we share everything that's going on protest-wise and events and stuff like that in London. I try to get out as much as possible taking photos. I work a full-time job as well, so it's literally in my spare time. So in the evenings, at weekends, whatever spare time I have, I try to get out and take as much pictures as possible. But like I said, the camera fits in my back pocket, so even when I'm going to work, I can just fling it in my back pocket, and if I come across a moment, then I can just take a picture. The street photography for me is about capturing a moment. It's about being on the street and capturing moments that would otherwise be lost. I think the most success comes from just being lucky, and you have to have your camera on you all the time to be able to be in that moment to capture it. So I would find if you go out to take photos, you're not always going to come across moments and you're not always going to come across great shots. But it is the off chance of you just being in the right place at the right time. So if you've got your camera in the back of the pocket, then you never know when it's going to happen. I absolutely love street photography, but some of the photos that stick out to me the most are photos that I've shot at protests. Because you find so much can happen at a protest and you never know what's going to happen. I took a photo last year at the Black Lives Matter protests where a group of black lads carried an EDL member who was getting beat up by the crowd, and they carried him to safety to the police, and I managed to capture a really good shot. And that's the sort of moment that sort of stands out and would always stick with me. That's why I love street photography. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get, and being able to capture moments and people being joyful or even sad moments. They're moments, if you don't catch it on camera, then it's kind of lost forever. Well, I'm quite an introvert, so for me it was kind of hard sort of getting up close and personal and taking shots of people, and especially in an area where I've been brought up in Peckham. If you go out with your camera and start pointing it around at everyone, you're going to get asked what you're doing a lot of the time. Central London is a place that I used to go all the time because everyone up there's got a camera, so it's so much easier to just shoot whatever you want up there and no one batters an eyelid at it. But then it's a lot harder when you come to an area like Peckham because you don't get as many cameras around and the residents ain't used to it as much around here. So the tips I would give is just go out and enjoy it. Just go out, take your camera and just shoot what you find interesting. I think the main thing is enjoying what you're doing. Right, so this is where we're going to start the virtual photo walk today. What I've chosen to do, I've chosen to start it here at Peckham Station because I know a lot of people will be travelling in by train. So what we're going to do, we're going to start the walk here and then make our way up to Peckham. I absolutely love this spot, especially when the sun's out. We haven't got the sun today, but usually you get the sun come down and it hits the building really nicely. It isn't here today, so we're going to see what we can try and do with this spot before we start heading up to Peckham. Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm hoping someone interesting or someone to come through the doors of the station right now so I can get the Peckham station plaque in and get someone walking into Peckham. Ideally, I want someone coming out of the station, so I've got them facing the camera and not walking into the station, which a couple people's coming now. Well, I think that's it for this spot. I don't think we're going to get much here. Like I said, we haven't got good light here today, so we're going to walk through Peckham now and see what we can see. Thanks a lot, boss. Appreciate it. You have a lovely day, yeah? Thank you. Right. Might I get one of you quickly? Yeah? Right, one more. Thanks a lot, boss. You have a lovely day, yeah? Thank you. Right, today, while we're shooting in Peckham, well, I shoot everywhere with this camera. The reason I shoot with this camera is because it's so small. It's rarely seen by other people, so I get to take shots without people seeing me take the shots because the main thing I like doing is getting candid shots without people knowing. But sometimes I will stop and ask for a portrait. And you have to get close with this camera, but sometimes I think that's quite good because you get to get personal with a person and have a little conversation with them and talk with them at the same time. So also with this camera, it's a wide angle lens. So I get to capture a lot of the scene of what's going on because the photos I like taking is more so photos that I want people to go back and look at in 20, 30 years time and be able to look back and see what the place looked like, get a feel for the place, to where I don't feel you can quite do that with portrait shots and using a zoom lens for say. I find with this, I think you can tell with a 28mm lens that you're up and close and you're sort of meeting the people and you're literally right in the middle of the action. So we're going to continue walking up Peckham now and hopefully I'll get some more shots. Yeah, when I used to use my other cameras, I would have to bring a camera bag because the batteries are bigger, so they wouldn't fit in my pocket. So I'd have to bring a camera bag. I used to try to keep it as small as possible, but I find when you've got other cameras and you have to change your lenses, so you'll have to have your camera bag to put your lenses, extra batteries, maybe a flash if you use flash. I literally don't use none of that. So having a Ricoh GR now, literally no bag, and I feel so free, and especially in the summertime as well. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. You have the camera bag on your back and you do get sweaty. It's so hot outside sometimes and I don't have those worries anymore. So the Ricoh GR, the way to go. Right now, I see these kids in front of us. I think it's a nice little scene. I don't have to do anything. I might try to take a picture as I'm walking past, but I don't really like taking pictures of kids without asking the parents and see if they're around first. So we'll just walk along and I'll see how it goes. Well, as you see there, I managed to walk past. I took a picture of the whole scene. It had the kids in the scene as well. But I managed to walk past, take a few pictures, and no one even knows I took a picture. So that's one thing I love about the Ricoh GR, because no one takes any notice. It's so small, it just fits in your hand, and no one even sees the camera. So I was able to walk past them and take 3 or 4 shots, and no one even noticed. So that's why I use this camera. With a big camera, it's not possible. People see you coming from a mile away. With this, I'm literally able to take so many photos and no one sees me taking any photos at all. So hopefully we can walk along and get a few more like that. So today we're hoping to come across a few moments, things happening, and that's all down to luck a lot of the time. So you can only be out with your camera and hope that these moments happen. They don't happen, they don't happen. What you do, we've got a bit of nice light at the moment, so I might try and make use of the light and see if I can get a few shots to where people's in the light and a bit of shadows and stuff like that. So I like this scene over here with the John the Unicorn shot, because the light's hitting the people inside, and it looked really good where the light's hitting them with a dark background. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and ask to see if they mind me taking their photo at the moment, because you can't really get this shot without being noticed, because they're already looking at us. So I'm going to go and ask and see what they say. At the end of the day, you can only get a yes or a no. So let's give it a go. Hey guys, you're right, sorry to bother you. I love the way the light's hitting you in this whole window frame. Do you mind if I take a quick picture? Is that all right? Yeah, appreciate it, thank you. Thanks guys, really appreciate it.
Oh man, it looks stunning.
Is that all right? Right now we're coming towards the top end of Peckham. The top end of Peckham's usually a little bit quieter. So I would say you have sort of 2 sides of Peckham, or I'd split it into 3 sections. We have the bit that we just walked through, which is always quite lively, and there's a lot of people, everyone seems in a good mood. Up the top end up here where we are now, it's usually a little bit quiet. People's literally just getting down to the main part of Peckham, or the main strip, which I call the strip that we just walked past. And then you have the bottom end of Peckham, where it's a little bit more rushed and more supermarket sort of stuff and people doing shopping. And to where this end up here is more coffee shops, restaurants. So everyone's up here having a drink and having a good time. And this is my favourite place to shoot, just up this side of Peckham, because everyone's in such a good mood. They don't mind you taking their picture. To where the other end, they'll see you taking pictures and they kind of think what you're doing, and you might get questioned on it a little bit. So I tend to stick to the top half of Peckham and just soak in the good vibes, basically. Well, sometimes I think about framing. It depends if there ain't really no moments or anything going on, because with moments you have to be lucky for a moment to happen while you're there. So a lot of the time I will go out and I'll frame a shot, And if we've got good light as well, then what I'll do, I'd pick a spot, I'd frame it, and sometimes I'd wait for the right subject to walk into the frame. I've waited a good hour or two sometimes for the right moment, because there's some spots that you would go to where not many people would be walking through. So I've literally just camped up and sat down on a wall and waited for the right person to walk around. Sometimes you could be there 5 minutes, a minute, and the right person walks into the frame. Sometimes you could be there absolutely ages. If the composition and the light's good enough, then there ain't no amount of time that I won't wait. I'll say 9 times out of 10 you know when you got the right shot, especially if you got the right composition, you're just waiting for the right person to walk into the scene. Then I'll say 9 times out of 10 I know I've got the shot before I go home. Most of the time is when I capture a good moment, more so than sitting and waiting for someone to walk into the shot. So a protest or something like that, for example, when you know a good moment's happened and you've captured it, then you just know and you go home pretty happy. Sometimes I'll go look on the back of the camera, but you can never really tell too much from the back of the camera exactly whether it's exactly how you want it. So sometimes I will look on the back of the camera, but other times I'll wait till I go home and I'll get it up on the back of the computer screen. It's a real buzz when you get home and you look on the screen and it's exactly how you wanted it to be, which is, it don't happen often. So I'll say if I get 1 or 2 shots in a year to where I'm really, really happy with it, I'll be over the moon. I like my work, don't get me wrong, otherwise I wouldn't post it. But I think for everything to fall in the right place at the right time to get an absolutely amazing shot, I think it takes luck, being able to get the good right composition, and just being in the right place at the right time. Right now we're at the top part of Peckham. I usually get to the top part up here and then start making my way back down again. Just a little bit further up the road, we've got Peckham Park, which is an absolutely beautiful park. We're not going to go there today. We're going to go stick to Peckham High Street, and if you go through some little back alleys and that, it opens up to a nice little space. So we're going to continue walking back down Peckham the way we came, and we're going to take a walk into Copeland Park, and we'll show you what it's like in there. Right now, we've walked down an alleyway from Peckham High Street. We're walking down to a little area called Copeland Park. I absolutely love it down here, but right now, I absolutely love this little logo with Peckham Soul on it. So I'm going to get a quick photo. Right, so just now, right now we're in Copeland Park, and they've got a little sort of food stall set up here at the moment, and they're serving free little burgers and hot dogs. So I thought I'd make the most of it down here, because you've got a lot of people coming and going. And what I've done basically, I've got my camera settings set on aperture priority, and the only thing I was really adjusting was the exposure compensation, because as you see, as you're shooting inside the little food market thingy, it's kind of dark inside, and then it's light on the outside with the reflections. So to get the exposure right, I had to adjust it a little bit so people weren't in the shadows. And that's basically all I had to do there. I tried to get different angles, so I went down low, and also noticed there where it's quite shiny and you're getting good reflections off of there. So I was getting people's reflections and trying to shoot just up above as well, so I've got them serving the food to the people with the reflections of the people in there as well. So hopefully you can sort of see that in the photos as they go up. So right now we've just sat down in Copeland Park. So we've sat down and gone through a few of the shots that I've taken so far today. And one of the shots that I just took about 5 minutes ago was round here in Copeland Park, and it's a little food stall, a little pop-up food stall that they've got going where they've given out free food. I like this shot because the guys that's serving the food, they saw me taking the picture and they decided to interact with me. So I've got one person, as you see, I've got one person there, she's sticking her tongue out, another guy sort of throwing up hand signs, and they're all doing this while they was working. And I love this photo because it just shows the interaction, everyone having a good time, and it's just a nice area to be in. And I think that kind of shows in the picture, which is why I love this picture so much. basically I've taken loads of photos today because I also shoot film as well, but I find with film you've got to pick your shots because film's pretty expensive and you don't want to be wasting film. With the Ricoh GR and it being digital, I can take as many shots as I want, and the reason I take so many shots and different angles and because sometimes you don't quite know until you get home and look at the photos what was the best angle or what was the best moment. So I would say shoot away and you can go home and look at the photos after, because sometimes the one you thought was the shot isn't always the shot. You get home and you realise, do you know what, no, there's another one that I like better, because especially with the Ricoh GR as well, it's such a wide angle that you sometimes get things in the scene or in a shot that you didn't initially see in the first place, but there might be slight little details that you prefer in other shots to others. So I would say shoot as much as possible and don't delete anything till you go home, pull it up on the computer, go through your shots and have a look at them. Right, this photo here that I've taken was walking as we was on our way down to Copeland Park. And as we was coming down, I noticed a t-shirt that was put on a mannequin, and it had a t-shirt with Peckham Soul on the t-shirt. So I thought this would make a great picture by itself. But luckily, as we was passing it and I was taking a picture of the t-shirt, I noticed a family that was coming along as well. So I took a couple of shots because I always like to take a few shots. I never just take the one. If you've got the memory to take a few on your memory card, then why not take a few and see what the best one is when you get home. And looking through the camera, there's two I like from this moment. One where I focus solely on the t-shirt where it says Peckham Soul, and in the background you've got a family walking towards us and they're blurred out. Not enough to where you don't know or you can't see what they are or who it is, but enough to where the focus is just on the t-shirt. Now the other one that I like, that I've taken in the same spot, but I've taken it differently, I focused on the family that is walking past. So the focus is a little bit more on the family as it's walking past as well as the t-shirt. I'm not quite sure what one I like most out of the two of them, but I'll let you decide and show you both of them. So right, just now we've came out of the tattoo studio in Peckham. By chance, we happened to sit down having a break, a little pit stop, and it happened to be one of my friends that was sitting down having a drink as well at the same time with one of his mates. But this mate of mine I met a few years ago, and he owns his own tattoo parlour down here in Peckham. So by chance, he wasn't doing anything at the moment, so he invited us into his studio to take a few photos and to just show what it's like in there, which the lighting's absolutely beautiful in there, so it was just a perfect opportunity to go and get a few more shots and something a little different that ain't a high street or outdoors. And lucky, living in Peckham for so long, I've got to meet so many people over the years and get to know them and make friends, and it brings out opportunities like that. So sometimes it's good to be able to stop and talk to the people you're taking photos of, because without that I wouldn't have had that moment there. So as you can see from the photos that I'm going to be posting, it's an absolutely great studio, and I think you can see as well, really good tattoos as well. Right, shooting with a Ricoh GR, basically what I do, I pull it into aperture priority. Because I find when you're shooting street, you don't want to be faffing around with the settings, and a lot of people will say shoot in manual, but with street I think it's more so about capturing a moment and having to mess around with the camera settings and everything else. Sometimes you might miss that moment or get the wrong exposure. So yeah, I'll pull it in the aperture priority, and then the only thing I adjust is the aperture and the exposure. Apart from that, nothing else needs to be done. I've played around with other settings. It depends if I want to, if there's say a subject in the scene that isn't moving, then I might put it on shutter priority, and I'll turn the shutter speed right down so I can get the person in focus and maybe the other people blurred walking past, so it focuses on the main subject that I'm shooting. Other than that, aperture priority for me. When I'm out shooting, it's not so much about focusing on one subject most of the time. A person whose work I love is Alex Webb, who shoots a lot of work with layers. So there's something going on in every stage of the photo, so it'd be like 4 layers of the photo. With that, I find that's one of the hardest things to do, of getting 4 things happening in one shot and it fill in the frame perfectly, especially using a wide angle lens. On the back of the camera, a lot of the time I have it in black and white, just because for me I find it easier and better to see the sort of light and shade and everything else. So, but then there's times where if the light is nice, I'll pull it into colour. It depends what I'm shooting. If it's a colourful scene and I think colour adds something to the photo, then I'll shoot in colour. If I don't think colours add anything to the photo, then I'll shoot black and white, which I find sort of makes a moment stand out more than the scene that is around. As for post-production, I don't do too much. I usually try to shoot what I'm getting and try to get it perfect as I'm shooting it. I do slightly touch up my work and I use Lightroom for that. So it might be slight adjusting the highlights or the blacks, and that's basically what I do, but I try to keep it as true to how it was when I took it. Right, so being down this end of Peckham is, I don't know if you can see yourself, but it's a little bit different from the top end. Down this end, it's more shops where people's buying things and everyone seems a bit more in a rush, and it's not a nice, well, it ain't a happy sort of vibe as the top end is. At the top end, it's more so coffee shops and bars, restaurants and stuff like that, where everyone's a little bit more chilled and relaxed. I just took a picture at the bus stop just then. It weren't nothing that stands out, but there's a guy just holding a flower at the bus stop, and just this bus stop scene really. But as you see walking down Peckham here, it's just everyone's more on the move. No one's really stopped or socialising too much. Down here is just everyone sort of got something to do and they're going to do it basically. So I do come down this end to just have a look and shoot a little bit as well. But I find I never get as much as what I do down this end as I do up at the other end of Peckham basically. But we are down here and you never know what you're going to see at the end of the day. You could see anything around any corner. So although I don't usually see nothing down these ends, you never know what's going to happen anywhere. So it's always good to still have a little walk around and have a look for yourself and see what you think of it. Hey guys, so now we've come to the end of the photo walk. We've ended up down the bottom of Peckham, right in front of Peckham Library. And I think we've had a really good photo walk today. We started at Peckham train station and we walked up through Peckham to the top end where you had the sort of coffee shops, the little bars and stuff like that, where it's a nice chilled vibe. And we ended up going around Copeland Park, which is an absolutely lovely space for you to go and chill. And if you want to go around for a coffee or a beer or anything like that. And now we've ended up at the end of the walk and I believe it's been a good day. We've met some lovely people today. Yeah, it's been a good walk, so I hope you've all enjoyed it. And I hope you come down to Peckham and do the walk sometimes yourself. All right, and a massive thank you to Wex Photos for setting this up. I've absolutely enjoyed it. Also, you have to check out hashtag Wex Masterclass. That's the hashtag for on Instagram. If you guys decide to come down and take pictures yourself or whatever, use the hashtag. Also, you can go onto the hashtag and see what's been posted before and see what else other people's done within that hashtag. Also, a massive shout out to Ricoh and Pentax. Cameras are absolutely amazing. Well, there'll be a set of photos that I'll be posting that I've done on my photo walk today, which will be going on to my Instagram accounts. One of the Instagram accounts is called Peckham_in_photos. So Peckham in photos, which is all my shots that I take in Peckham, which is solely just Peckham photos. And I also have another account, which is Christian_cross_UK. And that's where I post pictures from absolutely everywhere and all of my work. So go check them out and I hope you enjoy it. Right, I want to finish off by saying I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you decide to come down and check Peckham out for yourself. And who knows, if you do come down Peckham and you want some company around there, you're free to send me a message on Instagram. And if I'm around, then I could always come out and maybe show you around and walk myself and sort of show you what Peckham's about and where I live. You'll also be able to find the route on Wex's website, and the video should be on YouTube as well. So if you go onto the website, they should have the video up there, they should have the route, and hopefully a little bit more explaining everything.